Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session. Today we'll discuss about territory management and sales quota and sales management, right? What is territory management, right? A sales territory actually represents a group of customer accounts, an industry, a market, or a specific geographical area. We all know about segmentation. Segmentation is when we divide the market into segments, right? And in territory, and then we target our customers. We may define the territories. In segment, we define when we divided the market into segments, then in those segments we define the territories, right? So a sale territory is what? A sale territory represents a group of customers, right, or an industry or market of a specific geographical area. Of a specific geographical area, we define the geographical area, and of that specific geographical area, right, when we in a specific geographical area, the group of customers or industry or market is known as the sales territory. Sale territories are established for achieving some of the goals, right? Why do we establish the territories? We establish the territories to achieve the goals. What are the goals? The first is the proper marketing coverage, right? The first objective is proper marketing coverage, so that we can cover the market properly. Systematic mapping of the sales territory facilitate the salesperson in effectively combing the territory, covering present as well as potential customers, right? So first is sales territory. The first that we make the sales territories means we divide the group into in sales territories, right? We define the geographical region because of the certain specific objectives to achieve certain specific objective. The first is the proper marketing coverage, right? When there is a sales territories, well defined sales territories, then the salesperson, it helps the salesperson in effectively combing that territory, effectively covering up that territory, right, of present as well as of potential customer. When we define a territory, right, and it is given under some salesperson, that sales representative or a salesperson can effectively cover up the present as well as the potential customers, right? Because this is their territory, and this is the place where he or she has to cater the present as well as the potential customers. Then second is effective deployment of sales force. Proper knowledge of demand of the sales territories results in assignment of the right person for the territory as per the requirement of the territory, right? As per the requirement of the territory, or when we have a proper knowledge of the sales territory, proper knowledge of demands of the sales territory, how potential that sales territory is, then when we are aware about the potentiality of any sales territory, then we can assign the right person for those territories. Whether we need a one person for that territory or more than one person, that depends on many factors. When we have a proper knowledge of that sales territory, then we can assign the right person for the territory. Then efficient customer services. A well designed sales territories improve buyer seller contact and enables the better custom orientation on the part of a salesperson. So effective deployment of sales force is one. Then the efficient customer services. Because of division of the sales territories, you can efficiently provide the services to the customer. A well designed sales territories improves buyer sellers contact, right, and it enables the better customer orientation and the relationship on part of the salesperson, right? Then they can be in contact. It improves the because salesperson is actually the representative of the company, so in short, it improves the visibility of the company as well as it improves the relationship between the salesperson and the customer, right? Then the objective evaluation of sales force. This division of territory helps in objective evaluation of the sales force, that is comparison of the salesperson's performance to potentially of assigned territory results in adjective evaluation. We evaluate it. Improving selling and marketing productivity. A well-designed sales territory coordinates territory selling activities with other marketing functions of the company. So another objective of defining the sales territory is objective evaluation of sales force. That is, we are objectively evaluating the sales force. We compare the salesperson performance to potentially to assign territory results in their adjective evaluation. We evaluate it. Then improving selling and marketing productivity. A well-designed sales territory coordinates the territory selling activities, whether the marketing functions of the companies, right? So when there is a well-defined sales territory, it coordinates with the selling activities, whether the marketing with the marketing function of the activities. You see, in the marketing function, when we define the market, we define the market as per the potential of the company, right? When we define the territory, it coordinates the sales, it coordinates the territory selling activities with the marketing function of the company. Steps in territory planning. Salesperson's capacity. A proper assessment should be made as how many customer or prospects can a salesman meet in a day, right? So steps in the territory planning. First is salesperson capacity. How we can define a sales territory? We cannot define the sales territory haphazardly. There are certain rules, there are certain norms through which we should divide. We should keep in mind certain parameters. We should keep in mind the certain parameters on the basis of which we can define the sales territory, or we can plan the sales territory. The first one is the salesperson capacity. The proper assessment should be made as how many customer or the prospects can a salesperson meet in a day, right? So first of all, the first thing is we have to evaluate the capacity of the salesperson, how many customer a salesperson can meet within a day, right? How many salesperson can we meet in a day, and as per that we can define, right, the sales territory, right? If suppose if there are n number of customer in a territory, right, can a salesperson meet the n number, or how many salespersons are required to meet those person, right? And in another territory, if there are the less number or more number of the customers, right, then it is accordingly we divide the territory as on the basis of the a call that a salesperson can make in a day, right? Then frequency of calls per month. Then second factor is frequency of calls. The sales management should also define the frequency of calls per month to each customer. It is not easy, right? Then we define the frequency, how many times a salesperson should visit that particular customers in a month or in a week, right? So number of frequency of calls per month. First number is the capacity salesperson, how many customer one can meet, then the frequency of calls per month, then minimize travel time and expenses, right? The territory should planned in such a manner where the maximum amount of salesperson time is spent interacting with the customer rather than the traveling, right? So first is the capacity of salesperson, then the frequency of calls per month, then comes the minimized travel time and expenses, right? Minimize travel time and expenses, that what the company wants, that territory should be planned in such a manner that the maximum amount of time a salesperson should spend on interacting with the customer rather than traveling, right? Then there are the approaches of territory design. So I hope that on what basis we define the territory, there are certain objectives which we want to meet, and on the basis of that we divide our territories, right? Then there are approaches to design the territories. What are the approaches to design the territories? The market build up approach and the workload approach. There are two approaches. The first is the market build up approach and the second is the workload approach. The market build up approach. What is market build up approach? This approach estimates the present and potential product or the services demand by looking at how the market is built up and that is who are its present and potential user, how much they consume and at what frequency. Try to understand market build up approach. This approach estimates the present and the potential product or the service demands, right? So the number of the customer, what is the demand of the product and what could be the demand, what will be the demand, the present and the potential demand of the product, and how the market is built up. That is how the present and potential user, who are the potential and the present user, and how much they consume and what is the frequency of consumption, right? That actually it depends on the number of consumer or the customers, right, and how much they consume. The demand for the product, that the number of customer is one thing, right, who are the present or potential user and how much they consume and what frequency, how frequently they require our products, right. So this is market build up approach, that is as per the demand in the market, right. Then the workload approach, another approach is workload approach. WG Telle's workload approach to territory design is based on the creation of territories that are equivalent in terms of workload performance of the salesperson. First is the market build-up approach, that is as per the demand of the product in the market, right, we can define the territories. Second is the workload approach. This approach has been given by WG Telle's. It is that is you can create the territories in terms of workload performance of the salesperson. We can define the territories on the basis of the workload of the salesperson. The steps involved in creation of this type of approach is: customers are grouped into class sizes according to the annual sales volume that company has, right. So first thing is first step is customers are grouped in the class sizes according to the annual sales volume that company has, right. So as per the sales volume of the company, customers can be grouped into the class size. What is the size of the customer as per the annual sales volume of the company? Then the optimum call frequencies for each class of customer are estimated. How many times the company wants that the salesperson should visit that type of a customer, that is the optimum call frequency for class of customers are estimated. Then the present and potential customers are then located geographically and arranged volume and value wise, right. So optimum call frequency, first is on the basis of the annual sales volume of the company, then on the basis of the number of calls which a salesperson is supposed to make to each class of the customer. Third is present and potential customer are then located, right. What would the number of the present customer as well as the potential customer of that particular area, geographical area, are arranged in volume and value wise. What the number as well as the value of those customers, right. That is how valuable those customers are. Are they big customers or are they very valuable customers or not? Although all customers are valuable customers, but again on the basis of values we segregate the customers, right. So we can distinguish on the present and the potential customers are located geographically and arranged volume and value wise. The number of present and potential customer in each volume or value group is then multiplied by the desired call. How can we then define the sales load? That is the number of present and potential customer in each volume or a value group is then multiplied by the desired call frequency to get the total number of planned calls required for each geographical control unit, right. So it is important to understand the number of customer, present customer as well as potential customer, then the annual sales volume, then the number of calls we want that a salesperson should make to that particular customers, right. And That is then we define the present and potential customer located geographically, arranged in volume and value wise. How can we calculate this? The number of present and potential customer in each volume or value group is then multiplied by the desired frequency to get the total number of planned calls required for each geographical control units. Right. This is followed by determination of geographical control unit in these that the carved out territory in combined to maximum, giving adequate workload to several salesperson as well as minimizing, if not eliminating, the unproductive time spent in covering the distance between the two calls and post call activities. So, we can calculate the number of calls, right? I told you how we can calculate the number of calls. That is the number of present and potential customer multiplied by the desired call frequency to get the total number of planned calls, right, of a given geographical unit. And then again this step is followed by the determination of geographical control unit in these that carved out territory in combed to maximum, giving adequate workload to salesperson as well as minimizing, if not eliminating, the unproductive time spent in covering the distance between the two calls and post calls activities. And through this we can calculate the workload of the workforce, right, and we can on the basis of this workload we can calculate the workload and we can carve out the territory, right, and we can on the basis of this we can carve out the territory so that we can get the maximum results, and that we should provide an adequate workload to each and every salesperson, right, and if we can decrease, if not eliminate, we can decrease the unproductive time spent in covering the distance between two calls and post calls activities. Right. So, I hope it is very clear what is sales territory. Sales territory is when we define the a geographical area that salesperson which is under the particular salesperson, that is known as the sales territory. That is when we say that this is my territory, means this is area which I am supposed to cover. I am supposed to visit the present as well as the potential customer. Sales territory in short is what? Sales territory is defining the geographical area in that particular way, right, in that particular way, so that we can reach the maximum present and the potential customer and that by giving the adequate workload to the salesperson, right. So this is sales territory. We can define this. We can define the sales territory on basis of two approaches. Sales quota. A sales quota is a quantitative goal assigned to a sales unit relating to a particular period. What is the sales quota? Right. What is a sales quota? Is a quantitative goal assigned to a sales unit relating to a particular period. As the name indicates, quota, sales quota, that is in a given particular period, right, how many sales should be there, right. The quota is the quantitative term. It is a quantitative goal. Sales quota is a quantitative goal assigned to a sales unit, right, relating to a particular period, right. A sales quota is a quantitative goal assigned to a sales unit relating to a particular period. A sales unit may be a salesperson, territory, branch office, region, or a distributor. A sales unit, what could be a sales unit? A sales unit could be a salesperson. It could be a territory, it could be a branch office, it could be a region or a distributor. So now go back to the first point. A sales quota is a quantitative goal assigned to a sales unit. A quantitative goal assigned to a salesperson, assigned to that particular territory, or to the branch office, or to the regional office, or to the distributor relating to that particular period. I hope now this is clear. That is what is sales quota. The quota, the quantitative term or the quantitative goal assigned to either to sales office or to territory or to the branch office or to region or to distributor or to everyone at a particular period, that is known as the sales quota. That what we expect for that particular period, how many sales should be there, territory wise or salesperson wise or branch office wise or something like that, right? Sales quota are used to plan, control and evaluate the selling activities of the company. Why sales quota is required? What is the requirement of the sales quota? The sales quota, this quantitative term or this sales quota is required so that we can plan, we can control and we can evaluate the selling activities of a company, right? So that we can plan, control and evaluate the selling activities of the company. They provide a source of motivation, right? A sales quota is required so that we can plan, right? When we know how many units we are supposed to sell, right, we can plan accordingly, right? We can control when we come to know that whether we are achieving our target or we are lacking our target or we are ahead of our targets. We can take the control, we can evaluate, and after evaluating we can control the selling activities of the company, right? We can control the selling activities of the company. They provide the source of motivation. This sales quota provides the sales of motivation because it provides us the SMART goals. SMART goals indicates again an acronym. SMART is an acronym, that is the specific objective, that we know the specific objective. When we know about the specific objective, it motivates us, right? Then goals are measurable. We can measure our goals because it is in the quantitative terms, right? We can measure our goals, whether we are achieving our goals or we are behind our goals or we are ahead of our goals. We can measure our goals. Then the goals are aggressive, they are challenging, right? Then it motivates the workforce. But the goals are realistic, right? Because the realistic goals has been given to each and everyone, because as per those approaches, right, the realistic goals has been given, but those should be aggressive goals, right? Which should be very challenging, and it motivates the work goal, and it is time bound. T stands for time bound goals, and as it states, the quota states that a sales in that particular time period, this time period plays a very important role, that time bound goals, right? So it motivates the workforce, and the basis for the and apart from those SMART goals, the other factors which motivates the workforce are the incentives, compensation, standard for performance evaluation of a salesperson, and uncovers the strength and weaknesses in the selling structure of a firm. So this sales quota motivates the workforce because of the goals provided to us. It is, we can define it as a goal defined theory, that is the SMART goals, right? It motivates the workforce. Then the incentives associated with those or the compensation associated with these types of the quotas actually motivates the workforce. In our last lecture I told you about monetary motivation. So this incentive and compensation motivation is monetary type of motivation, which plays a very important role. Then the standard for performance evaluation of the salesperson. Through this sales quota, we can evaluate the performance of the salesperson, whether they have, because goals are measurable goals, right? We can make out whether an individual is able or has achieved the targets or not. It helps in uncovering the strength and weakness in selling structure of a firm, right? So it uncovers the strength and weakness in selling structure of a firm. Through this we can come to know about our strength and the weaknesses. It helps in SWOT analysis actually, right? Why quotas are required? Why quotas? It provides the goal, right? Because quotas provide us the goals, that is everyone knows that what are their goals, how much they have to achieve, they have to make the sales. It provides us the crispy goals, incentives and measurable performance standards, right? We can measure the performance of an individual because it's a quantitative term, right? Whether one has achieved the target or not, or whether if one is behind the target, right? We can find out the reasons and how much that lacking, or if someone is ahead of the target, we can measure it, and it helps in measuring the performance standard of the individual. Quota provides the salesperson, distributive outlets and other engaged in selling activities the goals and incentives to achieve a certain performance level, and helps to define the measurable standards of all stakeholders. So quota helps in providing the goals, incentives and measurable performance standards. Then controlling salesperson activities and motivates for desired performance. These quotas controls the salesperson activities and motivate them to perform well. Quota provide the opportunity to direct and control the selling activities of the salesperson, because that they know what is their quota. This provides them the opportunities to direct. The direction has been provided to them what they are supposed to achieve, and it helps them to control the selling activities of the salesperson, right? Because many things are associated, that is the compensation, incentives and the performance evaluation is based with this. So it helps in controlling the selling activities of a salesperson. Salesperson are held responsible for certain activities of the customers per day, calling on new accounts, giving a minimum number of demonstration and realizing the company's account, right? So salesperson are held responsible for certain activities of the customers per day, right? So because they have to visit a particular number of customers per day, calling the new accounts, present customer, as well as to approach to the potential customers, giving a minimum number of demonstration and realizing the company's account, right? Then if salesperson fails to attain the quota, the company can take corrective action to rectify the mistakes. If someone lacks, then company can take the action to rectify the mistakes. So sales quota helps in measuring the performance. Quota do help in motivating the salesperson, distributors, retailers, etc., and inspire them to achieve the desired sales, right? So quota helps in motivating the salesperson. It helps in motivating the salesperson, distributors, retailers, and inspire them to achieve the desired sales. And this quota aims of greater sales and expense control, right? So these are the various things which quota helps, right? Why quota? Because of these things, right? Where that controls the salesperson performance activities and motivate the desired results. Salesperson could be held responsible for certain activities. We can set the accountability of the salesperson, right? If salesperson is unable to take to achieve the target, we can take actions or can rectify our mistakes, and this quota helps in taking the desired actions and achieving the desired sales. The aim of greater sales and expense control, right? How quotas are set? How quotas are set? How we can set the quotas? There are 4 types of quotas. Actually, we can set the quotas on 4 bases. First is sales volume quota, financial quota, activities quota, and combination of above quota, right? There are 4 types of quotas. Actually, the sales volume quota, we can define the quotas on the basis of sales. Then the financial quotas, on the basis of finances we can define the quotas. On the basis of activities and combination of any of the above, we can define the quotas. Sales volume quotas, the most commonly used quotas are those based on the sales volume, right? The type of quota is set for an individual salesperson, geographical areas, product line or distributive outlet, or any one or more of these combinations. Right, the most commonly used quotas are those based on the sales volume. So this is the sales volume quota is the most common type of a quota or the basis of quota. This type of quota is set for an individual salesperson's the most commonly used quota are based on the sales volume, right? The type of quota is set for individual salesperson's geographical area, product line, or distributive outlet, or any one of these in combination, right? So sales volume quota could be set for the sales volume quota could be for individual salesperson on the basis of geographical area, that this is your geographical area and that salesperson is supposed to cover up that geographical area. Then on the basis of the product line, we can describe the sales volume quota on the basis of the product line or distributive outlets, right? This is the product line, and on the basis of that sales volume quota has been defined, or any one or more combination, that is geographical areas as well as product line or distributive outlets, or any combination, or could be an individual. Sales volume quota are also set up balance the sales of slow moving categories and the fast moving categories, or between the various categories of customers per sales unit. So sales volume quota are also set to balance the sales of slow moving category product, right? There are certain product which are slow moving product, and there are certain product which are fast moving product, or between the various categories of customers per sales unit. The sales unit quota may be set in terms of unit of product, sales, rupees, or both, and overall as the product wise basis. Some companies combine these two quotas. So sales volume quota can be in terms of units of the product, right? Unit of the product in terms of the rupee sales, or both overall as a product wise basis, right? Or some companies combine these two aspects. So sales volume quota can be in terms of unit of product sales, rupees, that is in the term of finances, or both, or overall could be the sales volume quota, right? Method for setting the sales volume quota could be the past sales or the total market estimation. How can we set the sales volume quota? On the basis of past sales or total market estimates, right? So past sales guide us about the sales volume quota, right? As per the demands in the past time, we can define the demand, right? And the total market estimate, if there is change in the market, right, we estimates the demand of the market, and then on the basis of that we define the sales volume quota. Then another type of quota is financial quota. Financial quota are determined to attain the desired net profit as well as control the sales expenses incurred, right? So financial quotas to attain the desired net profit, right? We try to attain the desired net profit as well as to control the sales expenses incurred, right? So in terms of when we say the financial quota in terms of money, right, it determined to attain the desired net profit. How much profit do we want, right? Then net profit quota is net profit quota, particularly useful in multi-product companies where different product contributes a varying level of profit. So net profit quota is actually good for those companies where there are the multiple products, right, where different product contribute to a varying level of the profit, right. So this is the financial quota. Then the expense quota. What is expense quota? To make the sales for conscious of the need of keep selling cost within the reasonable limits, some companies sets a quota of our expenses linked to the different level of sales attained by their sales force, and to ensure its conformity that even linked compensation incentives to keeping expenses within the prescribed limits, right. So expense quota, then it is on the basis of expenses, how much expenses has been incurred to company to make that sales, and it is done, the companies do this to limit the selling cost in a reasonable limits, right. And some companies set quota for expenses linked to the different level of the sales attained by the sales force, right. So this is the expense quota. Then comes the activity quota. What is the activity quota? This takes into account the activities involved in the selling process to make it more structured, right. So activity quota is that quota that is involved in selling the process to make it more structured, right. The number of the sales calls. So activity quota is the it includes the activities which actually the activities involved in the selling process, the number of the sales calls, that is how many calls has been made, the key or the high value the calls to the high value customers, right. Then demonstration can be done of this some product if applicable for the customers, canopy activity being done through promoters for the customer in public places, and the collections. Attributes of a good sales quota plan. of a good sales quota plan. What are the attributes of a good sales quota plan? The first is realistic attainability. It is very important that the plan should be realistic, right? It should be attainable, right? We should be able to attain those goals. Objective accuracy. The objective should be very clear, crispy, concise, and accurate objective should be provided to each and every sales person, and the quota plan should be, sales quota should have accurate objective, and that objective should be attainable. Ease of understanding and administering. That quota plan should be easy to understand and administer, right? It should not be like that we have made a plan, quota plan, but we cannot administer that. It is practical, it is not possible, right? It should be easily understanding and admissible. And flexibility. There should be a flexibility in a quota plan. Flexibility means if required we can make changes in sales quota plan. And fairness. There should be fairness, no biasness in the sales quota plan. While we are making the sales quota, it should be very clear and fair. Sales organization, and the decision must be made as to take the sales task required to be performed, as how the sales people should be grouped together to ensure the effectiveness and efficiency, right? So to achieve the quota, right, it is important that the sales organization should be there, that it should be make clear, or it should be there that how we can places the sales, or how we can group the sales people together so that we can get the maximum efficiency and effectiveness. The scope of their sales responsibility, line authority and accountability must be defined so that the sales activities can be well coordinated, right? We have defined the quota, and now it is important to make a sales organization. That is how we can group, how we can make a group of salespersons so that we can use them effectively and efficiently. And that it is very important that we should define their responsibilities, authorities and accountabilities of each sales person, right? It should be well defined. Need for the sales organization, why it is required? It defines the lines of authorities. What is the authority of each and every individual, right? So it defines the line of authority. It should be very clear what authority they have. It ensures that all necessary activities are assigned and performed, right? So this helps in defining the activities that are assigned and performed. Establishing the line of communication. This sales organization establishes a line of communication to whom one will communicate, one will report to whom, who is whose reportee, right? Provide for coordination and balance. It helps in coordination and balancing the activities and insight into avenue of advancement. It provides us the insight of the advancement, right? Centralization and decentralization of sales organization. There could be two type of sales organization, this centralized sales organization and the decentralized sales organization. In centralized system, recruitment, training, compensation, evaluation and all managed from the central headquarters. And in a decentralized system, field sales manager take up the most of these function. In centralized, everything is centralized at one particular point, and in decentralized system, the field sales manager that it is divided among many. Decentralization of operation in this case provides a greater freedom to the field sales manager, allowing them to display initiative and managerial skills. So decentralization always helps to achieve the target easily. It provides the greater freedom to the field sales manager, which allows them to display their initiatives and managerial skills so that they can achieve their targets and quotas. Sales control, analysis and sales audit. What is sales control? Sales control helps to ensure the productivity of the sales force, right? So what is sales control? Sales control helps to ensure the productivity of the sales control, right? So that they should perform well. The sales control function assists the sales manager to ascertain what level of sales results have been attained, why there has been any variance if any, between actual and budgeted results, and what remedial actions can be taken to achieve the targeted results. This is control. This is what the control is, whether we are achieving our targets or not, right? It helps to ensure the productivity of the the sales force, right? The sales control function assists the sales manager to ascertain what level of sales results have been attained, right? Why there has been variance, if there is any, right? And if any remedial action has to be taken, right? What we can do, right? So this is sales control, whether we are achieving our targets or if we are behind our targets, what remedial action should be taken so that we can achieve our targets. What is the purpose of sales control? By comparing the actual sales result with the objective set, the diagnosing the cause of variance between the two, sales control assists the sales manager, right? So what is the purpose of this sales control? So that we can find out whether we are achieving our targets or not, because there are actual sets, right, with the objective set, and the diagnosis of cause of the variance between the two. They initiate remedial, so that if we are behind the targeted, it is important to initiate the remedial steps, right? To revise the sales policy and the strategies followed if required. It is important to revise the sales policy and the strategies to implement the steps for improving the productivity of the sales force, right? So it is required to implement these steps for improving the productivity of the sales force. If we are lacking or if we are behind our targeted objectives, that sales controls helps us to understand, to implement the steps so that we can improve the productivity of the sales force, to improve the quality of the target settings, sales planning and budgeting function, and to increase the sales profitability. And it also help us to look into our strategies to improve the quality of the target setting, sales planning, budgeting function, and to increase the sales profitability. Sales control system, right? How we can control the system? Setting objectives and the sales force standard, right? We can set the objective and the standard for the sales force, establishing the standard for measuring the actual sales performance. Then again we have to establish these standards from which we can measure whether the sales force or the we are achieving our target or not, to gather the information on actual sales and comparing with the actual performance standard, right? So that we can compare whether we are achieving our target or not, taking correcting action against deviation if needed, right? So this is the sales control system. First of all, sales set the goals, set the objectives, then standards for the sales force, right? Rules for the sales force, establish the standard for measuring the actual sales performance, then gather the information on actual sales and compare with the actual performance standard. Methods of sales control. What are the methods? There are 3 methods of sales control, that is sales analysis, marketing cost analysis, and the sales management audit. Sales analysis. Sales analysis is detailed examination of sales volume by territory, salesperson, customer, product line, etc. It works on the basic principle that the trends of total sales volume conceal rather than reveal the market reality. So sales analysis is what? Sales analysis is detailed explanations of the sales volume by the territory, right, or by the salesperson or the product line. We discussed about this. It works on the basic principle that the trend of total sales volume conceals rather than reveals the market reality, right? So sales analysis actually works on what principle? That this sales volume conceal rather than revealing the market reality. What is the market reality? Method of controlling the sales force. What are the method? That is establishing the sales territories. You can control the sales force by establishing the sales territory, by allocating the sales quotas, maintaining the contact with the salesperson, right? Determining the authorities and rights of the salesperson, salesman reporting, whom they will report, complaint and object notes, right? Objection notes, then analyzing the sales expenses, right? Then observations and visits and the field trips, and providing sufficient sales tools. These are the methods with which one can control the sales force. Then marketing cost and its analysis. The marketing cost includes salaries, commissions, traveling expenses, sales staff, right? Remunerations of sales director, administration and upkeep of the sales office and showrooms, advertising and publicity expenses, cost of catalog, price, samples, then depreciation, insurance, repair, maintenance, sales, or bad debts, cost incurred for collection of bad debts, discounts and rebates, all should come under the marketing cost and its analysis. What are the approaches in market cost analysis? How can you analyze the market cost? That is the full cost approach. In this approach, all costs are allocated to the product, customer or other categories, including the fixed or the common cost, right? With all cost allocated, profitability can be easily determined by subtracting the cost from sales, right? This assumes that the cost have been allocated correctly. However, allocation of marketing cost is not an easy task in practice, right? So that is in total cost, when we subsum all the cost and when we minus it to the profitability, right, then we can come out with the marketing cost, right? And this assumes that cost have been allocated correctly. Then the contribution margin approach. For this was the full cost approach, then contribution margin approach. In this approach, not all costs are allocated in all situations. This approach focuses on the variable cost and allocates them, leaving the fixed cost unallocated. Matlab there are certain fixed costs like machinery cost is a fixed cost or building cost is a fixed cost. So this approach leaves the fixed cost unallocated, but it approach on the variable cost, the cost which varies, that is the salary cost, production cost, raw material cost, and then allocates them. It helps the manager to avoid the conflict over the allocation of fixed cost, right? Then usefulness of market cost analysis, right? Relative cost and profitability of salesperson, then minimum order level quantities, productivity of salesperson increases, advocate sales force size, number of output salesperson and in-house permissions required, right? Profitability of different marketing and mix programs. That's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.